Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You are watching the Paris Fintech Forum Communities video interview series. I'm Elliott Gotkine, and today I'm joined by the CEO of retail banking at La Banque Postale, Marion Rouso. Great to have you with us.
Hello, Elliott. Well, it's a pleasure to be invited. Thank you.
Okay, so before we get cracking, let's learn a little bit more about La Banque Postale. So, as your name suggests, you're part of France's National Postal Service. Tell us more.
Well, La Banque Postale is a weird animal because at the same time we are a huge bank in the French territories. We are more than 20 million clients, and at the same time we're a very young company. We were created 16 years ago. So that means we have all the energy and the power of the youngness, but at the same time we have all the capacity of development of a national big bank as our other competitors.
And would you say, are those kind of the key differentiators between La Banque Postale and other quote-unquote traditional French banks? You know, tell me how the DNA of La Banque Postale differs from the rest.
Well, the DNA of La Banque Postale is mainly on sustainability and societal, territorial footprints on France, and that's really diversification and really a DNA strong, because we are part of La Poste Group, and we are a state-owned company, and we are everywhere in every village in France. And I think this is really something. We are very close to people, very close to French people, and we are very, very strong power mark.
And being state-owned, La Banque Postale is about as safe as a bank can be. With interest rates rising and savings becoming more attractive, is this La Banque Postale's time to shine?
I think, yeah. Well, of course, as every bank in France, the growth interest rate is very interesting in our P&L, but it's not the only thing. I mean, right now you have some with the growth of inflation, the power, the buying power of French people is getting decreased. So we really have a main role to play in this part, and we are one of the in terms of tariffs, in terms of ability to help people, we are one of the main actor in France. So we really have a part to play right now.
And of course, as you say, interest rates are rising to combat inflation, which has partly been caused by war, supply chain disruptions and the like. We've got an energy crisis potentially looming in Europe as well. How do the challenges that La Banque Postale is facing today compare with the global financial crisis of 2008, 2009, when you were just, 2 or 3 years old?
Well, challenges are very different because right now it's a lot of uncertainties. I mean, we don't know in terms of geopolitics what will happen. In economics, we see that, August was a month very weird in terms of markets and in terms of interest rate. So we have to be very, very careful in the way we are dealing with our clients, the way we are helping them, and the way we are with them to build the future. So this is, I think, the main part we really have to do now, is being able to understand every situation for each of our clients and being with them in good case, but also when things are going a little worse. So this is really what the power we have as La Banque Postale to do that in the next months.
And earlier this year, just briefly if you could, you announced the launch of a fund to invest 150 million euros in startups. Was this always the plan, or did declining valuation among fintechs make this a unique opportunity to do such a thing?
Well, no, it was always the plan, because I think La Banque Postale innovation ecosystem is really a business accelerator. We are seeing the fintech system as really as business, and we already had a full ecosystem for fintech before the launch of this fund. I think the heart of the innovation strategy of La Banque Postale and Group La Poste, because we are not alone on this part. We also have CNP, the insurance company. We have La Poste. We have La Caisse des Dépôts. Is really to detect and then to accelerate, to incube, to finance, and then to transform. And some of the fintechs we are dealing with, we invest in it, but not all the time. We can also just incubate. So this is really a full ecosystem for business accelerator for the fintechs, but also for us as banking as a platform. It's very important for us.
Okay, so we've heard a bit about La Banque Postale. Let's now get to know Marion a little bit better. So, Marion, I mean, how would you describe yourself? I know you're the CEO of retail banking at La Banque Postale, but how would you describe yourself to someone else?
Well, I think I'm a real banker. It's more than 20 years in the banking industry, mainly in retail banking, with several groups and several companies. And I joined La Banque Postale 16 months ago. And that was a great challenge. I think the other part you can tell about me is that I really deal with the way women are working in fintech and finance, because it wasn't at the beginning when I started to work, it wasn't that easy. And so we have a lot of initiative to help to support women in finance. And that's a second part of what I'm really fond of. And I think I'm really a human person. I mean, I've got a lot of energy. I've got a lot of power to drive things. But what is really important for me is to see the smile of my teams when we achieve something, when we deliver a project, and when we can say, well, we've done that. We are proud of us.
And you said, as you mentioned, you've always kind of worked in banking. I understand the younger Marion wanted to be an engineer. What went wrong?
Well, that's a long story, but make it short. I really wanted to be an engineer because I'm fond of math. And after my baccalaureate, when I decided to integrate an engineer school, I had the same level as my brother. We almost have the same notes in terms of math, physics, and he was allowed to enter and I wasn't. And when I took my phone and said, well, what happened? Why not me? They say, well, it was 25 years ago, but they said, well, you know, having more than 30% of women in an engineering school is not good, because people might think that this engineering school won't be good. So I've decided, okay, I don't want to be an engineer anymore. If they don't want me, I don't want them. And I started in a business school. And that was a great challenge, you know, and it was just wonderful. And I'm really happy for that. But I think this is the really first time I saw this kind of discrimination between men and women. And I said, well, because my parents were always with me saying, you can do as your brother. And it was like a very big shock for me.
Wow. So at least engineering's loss is banking's gain, I suppose, in hindsight. And, you know, obviously working from home is a very big thing, both during the pandemic and subsequently. I know some people might be sitting at their desks, you know, with their shorts, or they might be taking calls while walking the dog. I guess you might be doing yours while you're skiing down the Alps or something. Is that right? Do you ever do that?
Yes, you're right. That's another weird thing about me is that I've decided not to move my family, and at the same time I'm moving from companies and from place. So we are living in the Alps in a wonderful little ski resorts, and I can ski every weekend and can walk in summer, alpinism, mountain bike, but I'm working in Paris. So thanks to home office, I can come back on Thursday evening, and that's just great. And, you know, it's very, a lot of people, because in France it's not that usual. And a lot of people, when I decided that, say, well, your kids, you forgot your kids, you're not a good mom, and it's going to be very difficult. But it's great, because from Monday to Thursday, I'm totally dedicated to my work. And from Thursday to Monday, I can work also, but my family is first. And that's very important in the way I live. And thanks to that, I mean, I can still climb mountains. This summer I was in Kilimanjaro, and I can still ski every weekend. And it's a very good balance for life.
Okay, so if anyone has a call with you on a Friday morning, they might hear a bit of wind on the call at the same time. So look, Marion, a key part of this interview is to get your take on the future of finance. But first, we're going to take a very quick break, after which we're going to continue our conversation with La Banque Postale's CEO of Retail Banking, Marion Rouso. Welcome back, and don't forget, if you're not already a full member of our community, everything you need to join can be found at www.parisfintechforum.com. And now, Marion, let's talk about the future of finance. So we've talked a bit about La Banque Postale. You're a traditional bank, but as you say, also a relatively new one, so a bit of a strange animal. Has it been perhaps easier to innovate and partner with fintechs than perhaps, let's say, more legacy inclined banks have been able to do? And how far do you think legacy banks in France have come in embracing the future of finance, and how much further do they need to go?
Well, I think this is an issue every banks in France has, or every banks in Europe. I think we have a legacy, a very strong core banking system that is not that agile. And if you want to develop, if you want to be in the future, we have to invent a very agile and new way of working with the clients. So, and competition is hard. I mean, we have a lot of new players that are much more agile than us because they don't have this core banking. So at the same time, we have to make a full transformation of our core banking system, and it's also a cultural transformation. It's our employees that have to think differently, but we don't have the time to do first transformation, then fintech and new services. So we have to deal with both of them. And I think future of banking, we have mainly three issues right now in France. The first one is around payment, but that's a worldwide situation and a worldwide question about what to do with payments. The second one is about a network, because we have very huge network all over France or all over Europe for some of these banks. And it's very costly, but at the same time, people are still asking for it. And the third point is about sustainability, not for our own company, but for what we're doing with our clients and how we can be a main actors, economical actors in terms of sustainability.
Okay, and before fintech valuations collapsed, we were talking about many neobanks like Revolut or Atom Bank perhaps going public. Governments are obviously spending a lot of money to try to help their citizens in the face of spiraling costs of energy and other things. Do you see the day when La Banque Postale, or even the French Postal Service would be privatized and that you would be spun off and publicly traded?
Oh, no, not at all. I think La Banque Postale is really, no, that's not in the field right now. No, no, we've just acquired, I mean, like 2 years ago, we acquired CNP Insurance. So that's a really a great power for La Banque Postale. And if we were not a public, owned by public, it wouldn't have been possible. So I think right now, one of our really strength is to be part of Groupe La Poste. Why? Because thanks to Groupe La Poste, we have all these postal office all over French national territories that are here. So that means we can deliver the banking service in every little village. And this is really thanks to postal office. So if we are not a public company, if we are not part of La Poste Group, that wouldn't be possible. And that's really our model.
Right, and as you say, branches and physical touch points are very much a part of La Banque Postale strategy, whereas with certainly the new neobanks and to a lesser degree with other legacy banks, it's a very big part of what you do. Are branches in general for banks, are they part of the future of finance? And if so, what are they going to look like?
I think, well, it's what is really weird, because if you ask people, if you ask French people, they will tell you, well, I don't need a branch. I don't need to go because I can do everything but digitally. But that can be right for main cities. I mean, Paris, Lyon, Marseille, Lille. You can have that, and at the same in suburbs and in rural territories, it's more difficult because people are not that used by digital. The second part is that it depends sometimes on your age. I mean, old people can be more difficult. It depends on your education. So if we just say we want to be digital, we just exclude a large part of French population. And the second one is that all French people, it's a kind of insurance to have a physical branch. It's a kind of reinsurance saying, okay, if something is going wrong, I still have my branch at the corner of the street. So it's really difficult to say no network. And what we can say with N26, with Revolut, is that, well, of course, they have some clients, but most of the time, it's not the main bank, it's second bank, it's third banks, because it's very easy to open an account. It's very easy to make payments. It's very easy to deal as a day-to-day banking. But when you really have a question, when you want to make a loan, when you want to deal with your future, I mean, or when you have, bad part in your life, most of the time you want something to talk with. You want something to see. So this is a big issue for French banks, because networks are very, very well, but they cost a lot. And at the same time, when we close a branch, everyone is saying, okay, that's a really bad thing. So we have to make a branch more profitable, of course, but we also have to be careful not to become full digital.
Okay. And of course, speaking of digitalization and neobanks and everything else, I mean, a lot of fintechs are coming under pressure due to what's been going on both public and private markets right now. Do you think the fallout will actually be positive for the ecosystem? So let's say the flakier fintechs will fall by the wayside and we'll be left with much stronger, more innovative companies that will be both more profitable for their shareholders and perhaps have more of an impact on the customers that they're serving?
Well, I think competition is a very good thing, because it helps us to become more digital, to invent more new services. And look at what happened during the last years in payments. I mean, banks were not able to invent what was invented by fintech. So, and now we are doing the same because we are following them. So I think in terms of customers, in terms of having companies moving fast, it's really good to have fintechs to compete with and to see what they're doing. So for me, it's Revolut, N26 and other. It's just a great thing to have them, because they're really push up to invent and to be agile.
And of course, one advantage for La Banque Postale when competing with neobanks or with legacy banks is your huge customer base. Do you think it's inevitable that big tech companies, the likes of Apple, Meta, Google, that they will move more firmly into the banking space? They're really kind of nibbling at the sides with bits in payments and the like. Do you think that they're likely to maybe take advantage of their big customer bases to move more solidly into fintech and banking services?
Well, everything is possible with such big companies. So I won't say yes or no. What I can say is that the banking system is has a lot of regulation. So it's not that easy to enter in the banking system. But you see, for example, with Apple Pay was a great way of innovation, and I think that they can come in the banking area, but they won't take the legacy part of the banking area. So we will still be. They can take a part in payments. They can pay, but for example, they will never deal with cash. And people say, well, cash is going to disappear. Yeah, maybe, but checks were supposed to disappear 10 years ago, and there's still a lot of them. And cash is still a great way for many people to pay. So I think we're going to new payment way, and that's what Google, Apple, Amazon are going on the payment area. And there is a lot of payment of different way to pay, but I think this is it will never in the next 5 years or 10 years. You still have all the payments industry that will have old way of payment, new way of payments, and we have to deal with all these different. The customer will choose. So I don't know if Google, on Amazon or Apple will go into a full bank. They might go into payment, and well, they are already going into payments, and we will see. But as for fintech, well, of course, we can see it as a threat, but I see it as a really great opportunity to modernize ourselves.
Okay, so it's time now for our round of rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay, so I've got my countdown clock here. So one word answers, rapid fire questions. When my phone alarm goes off, we'll stop. So here we go. What fintech segment has the biggest potential in your view over the next 5 years?
Buy now, pay later, and payments.
What is the biggest pain point in your everyday financial life that you would like to see resolved?
IT.
Are we at the beginning, middle, or end of the fintech wave?
We are in the beginning, I think.
Do you have a metaverse strategy?
Not that easy to explain.
All right, ball past that one. Have the EU and US regulators kept pace with all the new possibilities in the financial industry?
Yes.
How would you describe non-fungible tokens, NFTs? A scam, B, an interesting concept, or C, a part of the future that we don't want to miss out on?
B, an interesting concept.
Okay, have you ever invested in crypto?
Not yet, but we're still thinking of.
No, you personally.
Yes, personally, yes, I did. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Are physical points of sales part of the future of finance?
Yes.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 the highest, 1 the lowest, how likely are the following to happen in the next 10 years? That one of the neobanks will be as profitable as a top-tier legacy bank.
4.
CBDC, central bank digital currencies, will become a mainstream reality in the US and EU.
6.
Okay. Well, you heard my alarm. Our time is up for the rapid fire round and also for this conversation. So I really just want to thank you, La Banque Postale's CEO of Retail Banking, Marion Rouso, for taking the time to speak with me today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Elliott.
And for everyone watching, we will be back again next week with another big name from the world of finance and technology. We do hope you'll join us again then. In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe to the Paris Fintech Forum YouTube channel and to follow us on Twitter at Paris Fin Forum. Hope to see you next time. Bye for now. Take care.